Volodymyr Alexandrovich Zelenskyy, a Ukrainian politician and former actor, has captured the world's attention with his bold leadership style. His journey from the silver screen to the political stage has been nothing short of remarkable, inspiring many along the way. With a charismatic presence and unwavering determination, President Zelenskyy has steered Ukraine through challenging times, earning respect both at home and abroad. His commitment to strengthening Ukraine's armed forces showcases his dedication to ensuring the country's security and sovereignty in a volatile geopolitical landscape. President Zelenskyy's strategic vision and bold decisions have solidified Ukraine's position as a key player on the global stage, shaping the country's future with resilience and courage. His leadership continues to inspire hope and unity, demonstrating that with courage and determination, even the most daunting challenges can be overcome. As President Zelenskyy remains a symbol of strength and resilience, his legacy is etched in the hearts of the Ukrainian people and echoes across the global political landscape. Born to a Ukrainian Jewish family, Zelenskyy grew up as a native Russian speaker in Kryvyi Rih, a major city of Dnipropetrovsk Oblast in central Ukraine. Before his acting career, he obtained a degree in law from the Kyiv National Economic University. He then pursued a comedy career and created the production company Kvartal 95, which produced films, cartoons, and TV shows, including the TV series Servant of the People, in which Zelenskyy played a fictional Ukrainian president. The series aired from 2015 to 2019 and was immensely popular. A political party with the same name as the TV show was created in March 2018 by employees of Kvartal 95. Zelenskyy announced his candidacy in the 2019 presidential election the evening of 31st December 2018, alongside the New Year's Eve address of then-President Petro Poroshenko on the channel 1+1. A political outsider, he had already become one of the frontrunners in opinion polls for the election. He won the election with 73.23% of the vote in the second round, defeating Poroshenko. He has positioned himself as an anti-establishment and anti-corruption figure. As president, Zelenskyy has been a proponent of e-government and of unity between the Ukrainian and Russian-speaking parts of the country's population. His communication style makes extensive use of social media, particularly Instagram. His party won a landslide victory in the snap legislative election held shortly after his inauguration as president. During the first 2 years of his administration, Zelenskyy oversaw the lifting of legal immunity for members of parliament, the Verkhovna Rada, the country's response to the COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent economic recession, and some limited progress in tackling corruption. During his presidential campaign, Zelenskyy promised to end Ukraine's protracted conflict with Russia, and he has attempted to engage in dialogue with Russian President Vladimir Putin. His administration faced an escalation of tensions with Russia in 2021, culminating in the launch of an ongoing full-scale Russian invasion in February 2022. Zelenskyy's strategy during the Russian military buildup was to calm the Ukrainian populace and assure the international community that Ukraine was not seeking to retaliate. He initially distanced himself from warnings of an imminent war, while also calling for security guarantees and military support from NATO to withstand the threat. After the start of the invasion, Zelenskyy declared martial law across Ukraine and a general mobilization of the armed forces. Zelenskyy was named the Time Person of the Year for 2022. Volodymyr Alexandrovich Zelenskyy was born to Jewish parents on 25 January 1978 in Kryvyi Rih, then in the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. His father, Oleksandr Zelenskyy, is a professor and computer scientist and the head of the Department of Cybernetics and Computing Hardware at the Kryvyi Rih State University of Economics and Technology. His mother, Rima Zelenska, used to work as an engineer. His grandfather, Semyon Zelenskyy, served as an infantryman, reaching the rank of colonel in the Red Army in the 57th Guards Motor Rifle Division during World War II. Semyon's father and 3 brothers were killed in the Holocaust. In March 2022, Zelenskyy said that his great-grandparents had been killed after German troops burned their home to the ground during a massacre. From these deep roots of survival and resilience, Volodymyr Zelenskyy would rise to become a symbol of steadfastness and leadership for Ukraine in times of unprecedented challenges. Before elementary school, Zelenskyy lived for 4 years in the Mongolian city of Erdenet, where his father worked as a mining engineer to help build a copper mine, where he tried to apply his abilities in computer science to mining where his father had lived since the mid-1970s. Zelenskyy grew up speaking Russian. At 16, he passed the test of as a foreign language and received an education grant to study in Israel, but his father did not allow him to go. He later earned a law degree from the Kryvyi Institute of Economics, then a department of Kyiv National Economic University, and now part of Kryvyi Rih National University, but never worked in the legal field. Instead, Zelenskyy found his passion in comedy and entertainment, joining a local comedy group and quickly rising to fame. His comedic talents led him to create his production company and eventually starring in the hit television series Servant of the People, portraying a high school teacher who unexpectedly becomes president. At age 17, he joined his local competing in the KVN comedy competition. He was soon invited to join the united Ukrainian team Zaporizhzhia Kryvyi Rih Transit, which performed in the KVN's Major League and eventually won in 1997. That same year, he created and headed Kvartal 95 team, which later transformed into the comedy outfit Kvartal 95. From 1998 to 2003, Kvartal 95 performed in the Major League and the highest Ukrainian league of KVN, and the team members spent a lot of time in Moscow and constantly toured around post-Soviet countries. In 2003, Kvartal 95 started producing TV shows for the Ukrainian TV channel 1+1, and in 2005, the team moved to fellow Ukrainian TV channel Inter. This marked the beginning of a new chapter for Kvartal 95, as they ventured into creating content that would later dominate Ukrainian television. In 2008, he starred in the feature film Love in Big City and its Love in the Big Two. Zelenskyy began his movie career with the film Office Romance, Our Time in 2011, and Rejevsky vs. Napoleon in 2012. Love in the Big City 3 was released in January 2014. Zelenskyy also played the leading role in the 2012 film 8 First Dates, and its sequels produced in 2015 and 2016. He voiced Paddington Bear in the Ukrainian dubbing of Paddington 2014 and Paddington 2 2017. Zelenskyy was a member of the board and the general producer of the TV channel Inter from 2010 to 2012. In 2008, he starred in the feature film Love in Big City and its Love in the Big Two. Zelenskyy his movie career with the film Office Romance, Our Time in 2011, and Rejevsky vs. Napoleon in 2012. Love in the Big City 3 was released in January 2014. Zelenskyy also played the leading role in the 2012 film 8 First Dates and its sequels produced in 2015 and 2016. He voiced Paddington Bear in the Ukrainian dubbing of Paddington 2014 and Paddington 2 2017. Zelenskyy was a member of the board and the general producer of the TV channel Inter from 2010 to 2012. In 2014, Zelenskyy spoke against the intention of the Ukrainian Ministry of Culture to ban Russian artists from Ukraine. Since 2015, Ukraine has banned Russian artists and Russian media and art from. In 2018, the romantic comedy Love in the Big City 2, starring Zelenskyy, was banned in Ukraine due to the film not following the law of Ukraine on cinematography. After the Ukrainian media had reported that during the Russo-Ukrainian War, Zelenskyy's Kvartal 95 had donated $1 million to the Ukrainian army, some Russian politicians and artists petitioned for a ban on his works in Russia. This act sparked debates on freedom of expression and the complex interplay between politics and entertainment in times of conflict. As tensions escalated, the cultural divide between Ukraine and Russia became more prominent, impacting the artistic exchange between the two nations. In 2015, Zelenskyy became the star of the television series Servant of the People, where he the role of the President Ukraine. In the series, Zelensky's character was a high school history teacher in his 30s who won the presidential election after a viral video showed him ranting against the government corruption in Ukraine. The comedy series Svati, In-Laws, in which Zelensky appeared, was banned in Ukraine in 2017, but unbanned in March 2019. Zelenskyy worked mostly in Russian-language productions. His first role in the Ukrainian language was the romantic comedy I, You, He, She, which appeared on the screens of Ukraine in December 2018. The first version of the script was written in Ukrainian, but was translated into Russian for the Lithuanian actress Agni Grudite. Later, the movie was dubbed into Ukrainian. The dubbing process was a collaborative effort to ensure the movie's success in reaching a wider audience. In October 2021, the Pandora Papers revealed that Zelenskyy, his chief aide, and the head of the security service of Ukraine, Ivan Bakhanov, operated a network of offshore companies in the British Virgin Islands, Cyprus, and these companies included some that owned expensive London property. Around the time of his 2019 election, Zelenskyy handed his shares in a key offshore company over to Serhiy Fear, but the two men appear to have arranged for Zelenskyy's family to continue receiving the money from these companies. Zelenskyy's election campaign had centered on pledges to clean up the government of Ukraine. I'm sorry for the confusion. Here is the paragraph you provided. In October 2021, the Pandora Papers revealed that Zelenskyy, his chief aide, and the head of the security service of Ukraine, Ivan Bakhanov, operated a network of offshore companies in the British Virgin Islands, Cyprus. In March 2018, members of Zelenskyy's production company Kvartal 95 registered a new political party called Servant of the People, the same name as the television program that Zelenskyy had starred in over the previous 3 years. Although Zelenskyy denied any immediate plans to enter politics and said he had registered the party name only to prevent it being appropriated by others, there was widespread speculation that he was planning to run. As early as October 2018, 3 months before his campaign announcement and 6 months before the presidential election, he was already a frontrunner in opinion polls. After months of ambiguous statements, on 31st December, less than 4 months from the election, Zelenskyy announced his candidacy for president of Ukraine on the New Year's Eve evening show on the TV channel 1+1. His announcement upstaged the New Year's Eve address of incumbent President Petro Poroshenko on the same channel, which Zelenskyy said was unintentional and attributed to a technical glitch. Zelenskyy's presidential campaign against Poroshenko was almost entirely virtual. He did not release a detailed policy platform, and his engagement with mainstream media was minimal. He instead reached out to the electorate via social media channels and YouTube clips. In place of traditional campaign rallies, he conducted stand-up comedy routines across Ukraine with his production company Kvartal 95. He styled himself as an anti-establishment, anti-corruption figure, although he was not generally described as a populist. He said he wished to restore trust in politicians, to bring professional, decent people to power, and to change the mood and timbre of the political establishment. On 16 April 2019, a few days before the election, 20 Ukrainian news outlets called on Zelenskyy to stop avoiding journalists. Zelenskyy stated that he was not hiding from journalists, but that he did not want to go to talk shows where people of the old power were just doing PR, and that he did not have time to satisfy all interview requests. Before the elections, Zelenskyy presented a team that included former finance minister Oleksandr Danylyuk and others. During the campaign, concerns were raised over his links to the oligarch Ihor Kolomoisky, a billionaire businessman who had gained control of the 1+1 media group in 2010. The group operates 8 Ukrainian TV channels and broadcast the Servant of the People TV series from 2015 until 2019, featuring Zelenskyy in a comedian role as a national president. This unique overlap of fiction and reality captured the imagination of Ukrainians, blurring the lines between Zelenskyy the actor and Zelenskyy the presidential candidate. As the election drew closer, Zelenskyy's popularity surged, fueled by his on-screen portrayal and promises of a fresh start for Ukraine's political landscape. On election day, the nation held its breath as the results poured in, ultimately leading to a historic victory for Volodymyr Zelenskyy. President Poroshenko and his supporters claimed that Zelensky's victory would benefit Russia. On 19 April 2019, at Olympijski National Sports Complex, presidential debates were held in the form of a show. In his introductory speech, Zelenskyy acknowledged that in 2014 he voted for Poroshenko, but I was mistaken. We were mistaken. We voted for one Poroshenko, but received another. The first appears when there are video cameras, the other Petro sends Medvedchuk Privyatiki to Moscow. Although Zelenskyy initially said he would serve only a single term, he walked back this promise in May 2021, saying he had not yet made up his mind. This marks a pivotal moment in Ukrainian politics, reflecting the ever-evolving dynamics of leadership and public expectation. The uncertainty surrounding Zelenskyy's future decisions adds a layer of intrigue to the political landscape, keeping both supporters and critics on edge. Zelenskyy has outlined his vision for Ukraine's economic development, emphasizing a revamp of the judicial system and rebuilding trust in the government. He aims to implement a tax amnesty and introduce a flat 5% tax rate for large corporations, with a possibility of adjustment through mutual agreement. Zelenskyy believes that by demonstrating integrity from the outset, his administration can encourage people to fulfill their tax obligations willingly and contribute to the nation's progress. The president's commitment to transparency and fair governance is a cornerstone of his strategy for Ukraine's economic revitalization. Through these ambitious initiatives, Zelenskyy aims to pave the way for sustainable growth and prosperity in Ukraine, fostering a conducive environment for both local and foreign investments. As Zelenskyy works towards his goal of economic rejuvenation, he envisions a future where Ukraine thrives as a hub for innovation, entrepreneurship, and prosperity for all its citizens. Zelenskyy achieved a plurality of the electorate, 30%, in the first round of elections on 31 March 2019. In the second round, on 21 April 2019, he received 73% of the vote to Poroshenko's 25% and was elected President of Ukraine. Polish President Andrzej Duda was one of the first European leaders to congratulate Zelenskyy. French President Emmanuel Macron received Zelenskyy at the Élysée Palace in Paris on 12 April 2019. On 22 April, US President Donald Trump congratulated Zelenskyy on his victory over the telephone. European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker and European Council President Donald Tusk also issued a joint letter of congratulations and stated that the European Union, EU, will work to speed up the implementation of the remainder of the EU-Ukraine Association Agreement, including the deep and comprehensive free trade area. Zelenskyy was inaugurated on 20 May 2019. Various foreign officials attended the ceremony in Ukraine's parliament, including Salome Zurabichvili, Georgia, Kersti Kaljulaid, Estonia, Raimons Vejonis, Latvia, Dalia Grybauskaite, Lithuania, Janos Ader, Hungary, Maros Šefčovič, European Union, and Rick Perry, United States. Zelenskyy is the first Jewish president. With Volodymyr Groysman as prime minister, Ukraine became the first country other than Israel to simultaneously have a Jewish head of state and head of government. In his inaugural address, Zelenskyy dissolved the then Ukrainian parliament and called for early parliamentary elections. One of Zelenskyy's coalition partners, the People's Front, opposed the move and withdrew from the ruling coalition. This marked the beginning of a significant shift in Ukrainian politics, setting the stage for Zelenskyy to implement his vision for Ukraine. On 28 May, Zelenskyy restored the Ukrainian citizenship of Mikhail Saakashvili. Zelenskyy's first major proposal to change the electoral system from a plurality voting system to proportional representation with closed party lists was strongly rejected by the Ukrainian parliament, due to the belief that closed lists would lead to more corruption in government. In addition, on 6 June, lawmakers refused to include Zelensky's key initiative on reintroducing criminal liability for illegal enrichment in the parliament's agenda, and instead included a similar bill proposed by a group of deputies. In June 2019, it was announced that the president's third major initiative, which seeks to remove immunity from lawmakers, diplomats and judges, would be submitted after the July 2019 Ukrainian parliamentary election. This initiative was completed on 3 September when the new parliament passed a bill stripping lawmakers of legal immunity, delivering Zelensky a legislative victory by fulfilling one of his key campaign promises. On 8 July, Zelensky ordered the cancellation of the annual Kyiv Independence Day parade on Maidan Nezalezhnosti, citing costs. Despite this, Zelensky highlighted that the day would honor heroes on Independence Day. However, the format will be new. He also proposed to spend the money that would have been used to finance the parade on veterans. In 2020, Zelensky's party proposed reforms to Ukraine's media laws with the intent to increase competition and loosen the dominance of Ukrainian oligarchs on television and radio broadcasters. Critics said it risked increasing media censorship in Ukraine because its clause of criminal responsibility for the distribution of disinformation could be abused. Despite the controversy, Zelensky maintained that the reforms would foster a healthier media environment, free from oligarchic control. He emphasized that the ultimate goal was to ensure transparency and integrity in Ukraine's media landscape for the benefit of its citizens. In January 2020, Zelensky took a trip to Oman that was not published on his official schedule, appearing to combine a personal holiday with government business. His office said Zelensky paid for the entire trip himself. Nevertheless, he was criticized for a lack of transparency, and critics pointed out he had once criticized his predecessor Poroshenko for taking an undisclosed vacation in the Maldives. In January 2021, Parliament passed a bill updating and reforming Ukraine's referendum laws, which Ukraine's constitutional court had declared unconstitutional in 2018. Fixing the referendum law had been one of Zelensky's campaign promises. This move marked a significant step towards Zelensky's commitment to democratic reforms and engaging the public in the nation's decision-making process. The passage of the bill signaled a proactive approach by Zelensky's administration to address past legal shortcomings and fulfill promises made during his election campaign. In June 2021, Zelensky submitted to the Verkhovna Rada a bill creating a public registry of Ukraine's oligarchs, banning them from participating in privatizations of state-owned companies and forbidding them from contributing financially to politicians. Opposition party leaders supported Zelensky's goal of reducing oligarchs' influence on politics in Ukraine, but were critical of his approach, saying the public register would be both dangerous, as it concentrated power in the president, and ineffective since oligarchs were merely a symbol of more deeply rooted corruption. The bill was passed into law in September 2021. Critics of Zelensky's administration have claimed that, in taking power away from the Ukrainian oligarchs, he has sought to centralize authority and strengthen his position. Despite the controversy, Zelensky argued that the new law was a crucial step towards transparency and the democratization of Ukraine, promising to dismantle the power structures that have long governed the country's politics and economy. Zelensky appointed Andriy Bohdan as head of the presidential administration of Ukraine. Before this, Bohdan had been the lawyer of Ukrainian oligarch Ihor Kolomoisky. Under the rules of lustration in Ukraine, introduced in 2014 following Euromaidan, Bohdan is not entitled to hold any state office until 2024. Bohdan, however, contended that because heading the presidential administration is not considered civil service work, lustration did not apply to him. This argument sparked a debate among political analysts and law experts, examining the fine line between public service roles and civil service positions. As the controversy unfolded, it brought attention to the nuances of Ukrainian legislation and the challenges in interpreting and applying lustration laws effectively. Despite the legal debate surrounding Bohdan's appointment, his role in the presidential administration would significantly impact Ukraine's political landscape and future decisions. The appointment of Bohdan raised questions about the balance between political loyalty, legal requirements, and public perception in Ukrainian governance. A number of the members of the presidential administration Zelensky appointed were former colleagues from his former production company, Kvartal 95. Former Deputy Foreign Minister Olena Zerkal declined an appointment as deputy head of the presidential administration, but did agree to serve as the Ukrainian representative of the international courts concerning Russia. Zelensky's requests to replace the foreign minister, defense minister, chief prosecutor, and head of Ukraine's security service were rejected by parliament. Zelensky also dismissed and replaced 20 of the governors of Ukraine's 24 oblasts. In a bold move reshaping the political landscape, these changes mark a significant shift in Ukraine's governance structure, reflecting Zelensky's commitment to his vision for the country. The restructuring of key positions within the administration not only signals Zelensky's determination to bring about change, but also sets the stage for a new era of governance in Ukraine. As the dust settles on these impactful decisions, Ukraine's political landscape braces for further transformations under Zelensky's leadership, promising a period of both challenge and opportunity for the nation. In the 21st July 2019 parliamentary election, Zelensky's political party, Servant of the People, won the first single-party majority in modern Ukrainian history in parliament, with 43% of the party list vote. His party gained 254 of the 424 seats. Following the elections, Zelensky nominated Oleksiy Honcharuk as prime minister, who was quickly confirmed by parliament. Parliament also confirmed Andriy Zahorodnyuk as defense minister, Vadim Pristaiko as foreign minister, and Ivan Bakanov as head of the SBU. Arsen Avakov, a controversial figure due to long-standing corruption allegations, was kept on as interior minister, with Honcharuk arguing that the relatively inexperienced government needed experienced administrators and that Avakov had been drawn red lines that cannot be crossed. Zelensky dismissed Bohdan as head of his presidential administration on 11 February 2020 and appointed Andriy Yermak as his successor the same day. In March 2020, Honcharuk resigned as prime minister following the leak of an audio recording in which he appeared to belittle Zelensky's economic management. Honcharuk was replaced as prime minister by Denis Shmyhal. Honcharuk's hasty departure caused disquiet both in Ukraine and abroad, with many economists and political observers warning it would bring instability. In his 4-March address to the Rada, Zelensky recommitted to reforms domestic and financial, and remarked that he cannot always become a psychologist for people, a crisis manager for someone, a collector who requires honestly earned money, and a nanny of the ministry in charge. By September 2020, Zelensky's approval ratings had fallen to less than 32%. Zelensky and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan met on 16 October 2020. On 24 March 2021, Zelensky signed Decree 117/2021, approving the strategy for de-occupation and reintegration of the temporarily occupied territory of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and the city of Sevastopol. One of Zelensky's central campaign promises had been to end the Russo-Ukrainian War and resolve the Russia-sponsored separatist movement there. On 3 June, Zelensky appointed former President Leonid Kuchma as Ukraine's representative in the tripartite contact group for a settlement in the conflict. On 11 July 2019, Zelensky held his first telephone conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin, during which he urged Putin to enter into talks mediated by European countries. The two leaders also discussed the exchange of prisoners held by both sides. In October 2019, Zelensky announced a preliminary deal struck with the separatists, under which the Ukrainian government would respect elections held in the region in exchange for Russia withdrawing its unmarked troops. The deal was met with heavy criticism and protests by both politicians and the Ukrainian public. Despite the controversy, Zelensky defended the agreement as a crucial step towards peace and stability in the region. Detractors noted that elections held in Donbass were unlikely to be free and fair, that the separatists had long driven most pro-Ukrainian residents out of the region to ensure a pro-Russia majority, and that it would be impossible to ensure Russia kept its end of the agreement. Zelenskyy defended his negotiations, saying the elections would not be held before a Russian withdrawal. The agreement failed to ease the conflict, as the separatists continued their attacks and Russia continued providing them with weapons and ammunition. Several Ukrainian nationalist militias and former militias also refused to accept the agreement. At this critical juncture, tensions were high as various factions stood firm in their opposition to the agreement. The people of Donbass found themselves caught in the middle, torn between conflicting allegiances and uncertain futures. Amidst the chaos and uncertainty, the resilience and spirit of the Donbass community shone through, forging bonds that transcended the challenges they faced. Zelenskyy's attempt to engage with the far-right Azov fighters in the Luhansk region of Donbass was met with mixed reactions. Andriy Beletsky, the leader of the far-right National Corps and first commander of Azov, stood firm on his accusations against Zelenskyy. The failure of the peace deal to reduce violence underscored the deep-seated tensions and complexities in the region. Despite Zelenskyy's efforts, the conflict in Donbass continued to escalate, posing a significant challenge to achieving lasting peace. The unresolved conflict in Donbass served as a sobering reminder of the complexity and fragility of peace negotiations in the region. The persistent violence and geopolitical tensions in Donbass highlighted the challenges of finding a sustainable resolution to the conflict. The ongoing struggle for stability in Donbass underscored the urgent need for multilateral diplomacy and cooperation to address the root causes of the conflict. The intricate web of political interests and historical grievances in the Donbass region complicated efforts to achieve a lasting peace agreement. In December 2019, Russia and Ukraine agreed to resume talks mediated by France and Germany under the so-called Normandy format, which had been abandoned in 2016. It was Zelenskyy's first face-to-face meeting with Vladimir Putin. In July 2020, Zelenskyy announced a formal ceasefire with the separatists, the more than 20th such attempt since the war began in 2014. Although the ceasefire was frequently violated over the next few years and overall violence remained high, ceasefire violations in 2020 did decrease by over 50% compared to the previous year. Despite the efforts and temporary decreases in violence, the fragile ceasefire underscored the ongoing challenges and complexity of achieving lasting peace in the region. The continuous struggle for stability in the region highlighted the importance of sustained diplomatic efforts and international cooperation in resolving conflicts. As the years go by, the hope for a lasting peace between Russia and Ukraine remains a beacon for both nations and the world at large. On 8 January 2020, the presidential office announced that Volodymyr Zelenskyy was cutting short his trip to Oman, owing to the Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752 plane crash in nearby Iran the same day. Also on the same day, internet news site obozrevatel.com released information that on 7 January 2020, Ukrainian politician of the opposition platform, For Life, Viktor Medvedchuk, who has exclusive relations with the current president of Russia, may have arrived in Oman. Soon, rumors began that Zelenskyy may have had some additional meetings beside the ones that were announced. On 14 January 2020, Andriy Yermak dismissed the rumors as speculations and baseless conspiracy theories, while Medvedchuk stated that the plane was used by his older daughter's family to fly from Oman to Moscow. Later, Yermak contacted the online newspaper Ukrainian Truth and gave more details about the visit to Oman and the plane crash in Iran. On 17 January 2020, the presidential appointee Minister of Foreign Affairs, Vadim Prystaiko, was unable to give answers during the times of questions to the government in Parliament when the People's Deputies of Ukraine asked him about the visit's official agenda, the invitation from Oman, officials of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs who were preparing the visit, as well as how the president actually crossed the border while visiting Oman. On 20 January 2020, Prystaiko followed up by giving a briefing to the press in the office of the President of Ukraine and saying that he would explain everything about the visit when the time came. The atmosphere was tense as journalists eagerly awaited explanations. hanging on to every word Pristyko spoke, hoping to unravel the mystery behind the controversial visit to Oman. Pristyko's voice resonated through the room, his words carefully chosen and delivered with a mix of confidence and caution as he began to shed light on the series of events that had captured the nation's attention. Zelensky's first official trip abroad as president was to Brussels in June 2019, where he met with European Union and NATO officials. In August 2019, Zelensky promised to lift the moratorium on exhuming Polish mass graves in Ukraine after the previous Ukrainian government banned the Polish side from carrying out any exhumations of Polish victims of the Ukrainian insurgent army, perpetrated Volhynian massacres, following the removal of a memorial to the Ukrainian insurgent army in Hrusovich, southeastern Poland. This groundbreaking decision symbolized a step towards reconciling the painful history between Ukraine and Poland, fostering an atmosphere of mutual understanding and respect. The promise to lift the moratorium and address historical sensitivities showcased Zelensky's commitment to promoting peace, cooperation, and healing in the region. This crucial move by Zelensky not only demonstrated his diplomatic skills, but also highlighted his dedication to building stronger ties with neighboring countries and fostering a climate of reconciliation. In September 2019, it was reported that US President Donald Trump had allegedly blocked payment of a congressionally mandated $400 million military aid package to Ukraine to pressure Zelensky during a July phone call between the two presidents to investigate alleged wrongdoing by Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden. This report was the catalyst for the Trump-Ukraine scandal and the impeachment inquiry against Donald Trump. Zelensky has denied that he was pressured by Trump and declared that he does not want to interfere in a foreign election. Amidst swirling allegations and political intrigue, the bond between the United States and Ukraine was tested, spotlighting the complex dance of diplomacy on the world stage. As the scandal unfolded, global attention turned to the uncertain future of US-Ukraine relations and the implications for international security and democratic norms. The echoes of this controversy resonated far beyond the borders of Ukraine and the United States, underscoring the intricate web of interconnected global politics and power dynamics. On a trip to the United States in September 2021, Zelensky engaged in talks and commitments with US President Joe Biden. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin listened attentively, nodding in agreement during the discussions. Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm expressed her enthusiasm for future collaborations with Ukraine. Secretary of State Antony Blinken emphasized the importance of diplomatic relations between the two nations. President Zelensky and First Lady Olena Zelenska radiated pride during the opening of the Ukrainian House in Washington, D.C. During the same trip, he met with Apple CEO Tim Cook, discussing potential collaborations and initiatives. In Silicon Valley, Zelensky engaged with Ukrainians holding senior positions at tech companies, fostering partnerships and innovation. At Stanford University, Zelensky delivered a speech inspiring students and faculty with his vision for Ukraine's future. While still in the US, just after delivering a speech at the United Nations, an assassination attempt was made in Ukraine on Serhiy Shafir, his closest aide. In April 2021, in response to Russian military buildup at the Ukrainian borders, Zelensky spoke to American President Joe Biden and urged NATO members to speed up Ukraine's request for membership. On 26 November 2021, Zelensky accused Russia and Ukrainian oligarch Rinat Akhmetov of backing a plan to overthrow his government. The tension escalated quickly, drawing global attention to the fragile peace in Eastern Europe and raising concerns about Ukraine's future. Despite the mounting pressures, Zelensky remained resolute, vowing to protect his country's sovereignty and independence at all costs. As the situation unfolded, diplomatic efforts intensified, with negotiations held behind closed doors, striving to de-escalate the growing conflict. The uncertain future loomed large over Ukraine, with citizens anxiously watching as the political drama played out on the international stage. Russia denied any involvement in a coup plot, And Akhmetov said in a statement that the information made public by Volodymyr Zelenskyy about attempts to draw me into some kind of coup is an absolute lie. I am outraged by the spread of this lie, no matter what the president's motives are. In December 2021, Zelenskyy called for preemptive action against Russia. On 19th January 2022, Zelenskyy said in a video message that the country's citizens should not panic and appealed to the media to be methods of mass information and not mass hysteria. On 28th January, Zelenskyy called on the West not to create a panic in his country over a potential Russian invasion, adding that constant warnings of an imminent threat of invasion are putting the economy of Ukraine at risk. Zelenskyy said that we do not see a bigger escalation than in early 2021, when Russia's military build-up started. Zelenskyy and US President Joe Biden disagreed on how imminent the threat was. On 19th February, as worries of a Russian invasion of Ukraine grew, Zelenskyy warned the Munich Security Conference that Western nations should abandon their appeasement attitude toward Moscow. Ukraine has been granted security assurances in exchange for giving up the world's third-largest nuclear arsenal. We don't have any firearms, and there's no security, but we have a right to urge a transformation from an appeasement policy to one that ensures security and peace, he stated. His words echoed through the hall, carrying a weight of urgency and a plea for international solidarity to face the looming threat. The room fell silent as world leaders contemplated the gravity of the situation and the call for a shift in policy toward Russia. Zelenskyy's conviction resonated with many, sparking discussions and debates among the attendees about the best course of action to safeguard Ukraine's sovereignty. As the conference neared its end, Zelenskyy's speech lingered in the minds of those present, a stark reminder of the challenges and responsibilities in maintaining global peace and security. In the early hours of 24 February, shortly before the start of the Russian invasion, Zelenskyy recorded an address to the citizens of both Ukraine and Russia. He disputed claims of the Russian government about the presence of neo-Nazis in the Ukrainian government and stated that he had no intention of attacking the Donbas region while highlighting his connections to the area. In part of the address, he spoke in Russian to the people of Russia, appealing to them to pressure their leadership to prevent war. Using both the weight of his words and the sincerity in his eyes, Zelenskyy implored the Russian populace to consider the shared history and cultural ties between the two nations, emphasizing peace over conflict. He appealed to the humanity within each individual, urging them to envision a future where cooperation and understanding prevail over aggression and animosity. Zelenskyy's words echoed a sentiment of unity, transcending borders and politics, with a hope for a harmonious coexistence between Ukraine and Russia based on mutual respect and peace. Who will suffer the most from this? People. Who does not want this more than anyone? People. Who can prevent this? People. Are these people present among you? I am sure there are. Public figures, journalists, musicians, actors, athletes, scientists, doctors, bloggers, stand-up comedians, TikTokers, and many more. Regular people, regular, normal people, men, women, the elderly, children, fathers, and most importantly, mothers. Just like people in Ukraine, just like the authorities in Ukraine, no matter how much they try to convince you otherwise, I know that they will not show this appeal of mine on Russian television. But the citizens of Russia must see it. They must know the truth. And the truth is that this needs to stop before it is too late. And if the Russian leadership does not want to sit down at the table with us for the sake of peace, then perhaps they will sit down at the table with you. Do Russians want war? On the morning of 24th February, Putin announced that Russia was initiating a special military operation in the Donbas. Russian missiles struck a number of military targets in Ukraine. Zelenskyy declared martial law. Zelenskyy also announced that diplomatic relations with Russia were being severed, effective immediately. Later in the day, he announced general mobilization. On 25 February, Zelenskyy said that despite Russia's claim that it was targeting only military sites, civilian sites were also being hit. In an early morning address that day, Zelenskyy said that his intelligence services had identified him as Russia's top target, but that he is staying in Kyiv and his family will remain in the country. As the conflict escalated, the world watched in concern, hoping for a resolution that would bring peace to the region. The situation remained tense, with calls for dialogue and de-escalation becoming more urgent by the hour. Amidst the chaos and uncertainty, there was a glimmer of hope as humanitarian aid efforts were organized to support those affected by the conflict. "They want to destroy Ukraine politically by destroying the head of state," he said. In the early hours of 26 February, during the most significant assault by Russian troops on the capital of Kyiv, the United States government and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan urged Zelenskyy to evacuate to a safer location. Zelenskyy turned down both offers and opted to remain in Kyiv with its defense forces, saying that "the fight is here in Kyiv. I need ammunition, not a ride." His defiance became a beacon of resistance, rallying the nation and drawing international support for Ukraine's fight. Together with his fellow citizens, Zelenskyy remained resolute, embodying the unwavering spirit of Ukraine in the face of adversity. The streets of Kyiv echoed with chants of unity and determination as the people stood firm against the invading forces. Amidst the chaos and destruction, a sense of solidarity and bravery bloomed, symbolizing the strength and resilience of the Ukrainian people. More than 90% of Ukrainians supported the actions of Zelenskyy. More than 90% in western and central Ukraine, and more than 80% in Russian-speaking regions in eastern and southern Ukraine also supported him. A Pew Research Center poll found that 72% of Americans had confidence in Zelenskyy's handling of international affairs. Zelenskyy has gained worldwide recognition as the wartime leader of Ukraine during the Russian invasion. Historian Andrew Roberts compared him to Winston Churchill. The comparison highlights Zelenskyy's enduring impact as a leader during challenging times. His courage and determination have inspired people worldwide. Zelenskyy's unwavering commitment to his country and people has solidified his place in history. His actions during the crisis have united Ukraine like never before. The resilience and unity displayed by Ukrainians under Zelenskyy's leadership have sparked admiration worldwide. Zelenskyy's steadfast leadership serves as a beacon of hope in turbulent times. Harvard Political Review said that Zelenskyy has harnessed the power of social media to become history's first truly online wartime leader, bypassing traditional gatekeepers as he uses the internet to reach out to the people. He has been described as a national hero or a global hero by many commentators, including publications such as The Hill, Deutsche Welle, Der Spiegel, and USA Today. BBC News and The Guardian have reported that his response to the invasion has received praise even from previous critics. During the invasion, Zelenskyy has been reportedly the target of more than a dozen assassination attempts. 3 were prevented due to tips from Russian FSB employees who opposed the invasion. 2 of those attempts were carried out by the Wagner Group, a Russian paramilitary force, and the 3rd by the Kadyrovites, the personal guard of Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov. While speaking about Ukrainian civilians who were killed by Russian forces, Zelenskyy said, "Each of these lives lost is a tragedy that leaves a permanent scar on the heart of our nation." Zelenskyy said, "We will not forgive. We will not forget. We will punish everyone who committed atrocities in this war. We will find every responsible who was shelling our cities, our people, who was shooting the missiles, who was giving orders. You will not have a quiet place on this earth, except for a grave." The determination in Zelenskyy's voice echoed the resolve of a nation wounded, yet unbroken, promising justice for every tear shed and life lost. As the world listened to his words, a collective sense of solidarity and admiration grew for the unwavering courage displayed by the Ukrainian people in the face of adversity. The echoes of Zelenskyy's powerful speech reverberated across borders, igniting a call to action and a renewed commitment to upholding the values of peace, justice, and human rights. In the shadow of war, a beacon of resilience emerged, symbolized by the unwavering spirit of Zelenskyy and the Ukrainian people, standing firm against injustice and tyranny. On 7th of March 2022, Czech President Miloš Zeman decided to award Zelenskyy with the highest state award of the Czech Republic, the Order of the White Lion, for his bravery and courage in the face of Russia's invasion. Zelenskyy has repeatedly called for direct talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin, 94, saying, "Good Lord, what do you want? Leave our land. If you don't want to leave now, sit down with me at the negotiating table. But not from 30 meters away, like with Macron and Scholz. I don't bite." Zelenskyy said he was 99.9% sure that Putin thought the Ukrainians would welcome the invading forces with flowers and smiles. On 7th of March 2022, as a condition for ending the invasion, the Kremlin demanded Ukraine's neutrality, recognition of Crimea, which had been annexed by Russia, as Russian territory, and recognition of the self-proclaimed separatist republics of Donetsk and Luhansk as independent states. On 8th March, Zelenskyy expressed willingness to discuss Putin's demands. Zelenskyy said he is ready for dialogue, but not for capitulation. He proposed a new collective security agreement for Ukraine with the United States, Turkey, France, Germany, as an alternative to the country joining NATO. Zelenskyy's Servant of the People Party said that Ukraine would not give up its claims on Crimea, Donetsk, and Luhansk. However, Zelenskyy said that Ukraine was considering giving the Russian language protected minority status. This move aimed to foster peace and harmony among the diverse population of Ukraine, highlighting the importance of unity in diversity. By promoting inclusivity and respect for different cultures and languages, Zelenskyy sought to build a stronger and more cohesive nation. As discussions continued, Zelenskyy emphasized the value of open dialogue and mutual understanding in resolving conflicts and building a prosperous future for all Ukrainians. On 15th of March 2022, Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki, together with Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala and Slovenian Prime Minister Janez Janša, visited Kiev to meet with Zelenskyy in a display of support for Ukraine. On 16th of March 2022, a deepfake appeared online of Zelenskyy, calling on Ukrainian citizens to surrender to Russia. The attack was largely deemed to have failed at its intended goal. The video is considered to be the first use of deepfake technology in a global-scale disinformation attack. Zelenskyy has made an effort to rally the governments of Western nations to isolate Russia. He has made numerous addresses to the legislatures of the EU, UK, Poland, Australia, Canada, US, Germany, Israel, Italy, Japan, the Netherlands, Romania, and the Nordic countries. Through these relentless efforts, Zelenskyy aims to fortify a unified international response against aggression, showcasing the power of global solidarity in the face of conflict. On 23rd March, Zelenskyy was calling on Russians to emigrate from Russia so as not to finance the war in Ukraine with their taxes. In March 2022, Zelenskyy supported the suspension of 11 Ukrainian political parties with ties to Russia: the Socialist Party of Ukraine, Derzava, Left Opposition, Nashi, Opposition Bloc, Opposition Platform, For Life, Party of Shari, Progressive Socialist Party of Ukraine, Union of Leftists, and the Volodymyr Zelenskyy Bloc. The Communist Party of Ukraine, another pro-Russia party, had already been banned in 2015 because of its support to the Donbas separatists. Zelenskyy has also supported consolidating all TV news stations into a single 24-hour news broadcast run by the state of Ukraine. This move was aimed at unifying the country's message and strengthening its information security during the ongoing conflict. In the second phase of the conflict, the southeastern front emerged as a critical battleground. This phase, lasting from April 8 to September 5, witnessed intense fighting and strategic maneuvers. Zelenskyy's strong stance against Russia and his call for solidarity reverberated throughout the region. As the conflict escalated, Zelenskyy's unwavering commitment to the defense of Ukraine inspired many. The sacrifices made by Ukrainian soldiers and civilians at the southeastern front became a symbol of resilience and bravery. The southeastern front became a crucible of valor and determination, shaping the course of the conflict. The stories of heroism and sacrifice from the Southeastern Front echoed beyond borders, uniting people in support of Ukraine. The resilience displayed at the Southeastern Front symbolized the unbreakable spirit of the Ukrainian people in the face of adversity. Through the darkest days of the conflict, hope emerged as a guiding light for those on the Southeastern Front. Zelenskyy stood firm against the suggestion by former U.S. diplomat Henry Kissinger regarding Crimea and Donbass, emphasizing that peace cannot come at the cost of territorial integrity. He reiterated on May 25, 2022, that Ukraine's stance remained unchanged. Peace can only be achieved through the return of Crimea and Donbass from Russia. Zelenskyy expressed the grim reality that the land taken by Russia since 2014, including Crimea, might not be recoverable through military means without devastating consequences. In a sharp rebuke on May 3, 2022, Zelenskyy criticized Turkey for what he perceived as contradictory actions, accusing them of maintaining double standards in their dealings with Russia and Ukraine. Zelenskyy pointed out the inconsistency of Turkey welcoming Russian tourists while trying to mediate between Russia and Ukraine, highlighting the complexity of the international relationships at play in the ongoing conflict. The president conveyed his frustration with Turkey's approach, underscoring the challenges faced in finding a resolution to the war and the delicate balancing act required in international diplomacy. On 25 May 2022, Zelenskyy expressed satisfaction with China's policy of maintaining distance from the conflict. In August 2022, Zelenskyy emphasized China's economic leverage to pressure Putin into ending the war. He stated that without the Chinese market, Russia would face economic isolation and urged China to limit trade until the war ceased. Zelenskyy shared that Chinese President Xi Jinping had declined to engage in discussions with him since the invasion began. On 30th May 2022, Zelenskyy criticized EU leaders for their leniency towards Russia, questioning Russia's ability to earn substantial daily profits through energy sales. He highlighted a study by the Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air, CREA, that revealed the substantial payments made by the EU to Russia for fossil fuel deliveries post-invasion. The study determined that the EU had paid Russia around $56 billion for fossil fuel supplies in the 3 months following the initiation of Russia's invasion. On 20th June 2022, Zelenskyy addressed African Union, AU, representatives via video conference. He invited African leaders to a virtual meeting, but only 4 of them attended. On 20th July 2022, South America's Mercosur trade bloc refused Zelenskyy's request to speak at the trade bloc summit in Paraguay. This refusal underscored the complex dynamics and geopolitical challenges facing Ukraine on the international stage. Despite these setbacks, Zelenskyy remained determined to strengthen Ukraine's diplomatic ties with regions across the globe. His unwavering commitment to international outreach highlighted Ukraine's resilience and pursuit of cooperation beyond traditional alliances. As Zelenskyy navigated the intricate web of global relations, his vision for a united and peaceful world shone brightly. With every challenge faced, Zelenskyy's resolve only grew stronger, inspiring hope and admiration both at home and abroad. And during the 3rd phase of counteroffensives and annexations starting on September 6th, the situation in Ukraine took a critical turn. The 2022 Russian mobilization has sent shockwaves through the region and beyond, with President Zelenskyy condemning the actions of the Russian military. Zelenskyy urged the Russian people not to fall victim to a criminal mobilization, highlighting the disregard of Russian commanders for the lives of their own citizens amidst escalating tensions. He emphasized that the Russian commanders were solely focused on filling the void left by fallen and injured soldiers, rather than valuing the lives of their people. In response to Putin's announcement of Russia's annexation of 4 regions in Ukraine, President Zelenskyy declared that Ukraine would not engage in peace talks with Russia as long as Putin remained in power. The bold stance taken by Zelensky sent a clear message that Ukraine would not negotiate with an aggressor state, resolute in upholding its sovereignty and independence. On 25 September 2022, Zelensky said that Putin's threats to use nuclear weapons could be a reality. He added that Putin wants to scare the whole world with nuclear blackmail. He also said that Putin is aware that the world will never forgive a Russian nuclear strike. When asked what kind of relationship Ukrainians and Ukraine will have with Russia after the war, Zelensky replied that they took too many people, too many lives. The society will not forgive them, adding that it will be the choice of our society whether to talk to them or not to talk at all, and for how many years, tens of years or more. On 21 December 2022, Zelensky visited the United States on his first foreign trip since the war began. He met with President Joe Biden and addressed Congress, delivering his full speech in English. The United States announced they would supply Patriot missiles to Ukraine, as had been requested. This support highlighted a pivotal moment in international relations, showing a united front against aggression. In May 2023, he visited the International Criminal Court in The Hague and said he would like to see Russian President Vladimir Putin stand trial for war crimes committed during the war in Ukraine. On 19 September 2023, in a speech to the UN General Assembly, Zelensky called on neutral countries in Latin America, Africa, and Asia to abandon their neutrality and support Ukraine. In October 2023, after the Hroza missile attack, he criticized countries supporting Russia, saying all those who help Russia circumvent sanctions are criminals. His relentless pursuit for justice and support not only highlights the gravity of the situation, but also underscores the global responsibility towards peace and accountability. The unwavering determination and courage exhibited by Zelensky in the face of adversity serve as a beacon of hope for Ukraine and the world, inspiring unity and resilience in the pursuit of peace and justice. During his presidential campaign, Zelensky stated his support for Ukraine's membership in the European Union and NATO, emphasizing that Ukrainian voters should have a say through referendums. At the same time, he highlighted that the Ukrainian people had already expressed their preference for Euro integration. Zelensky's close advisor, Ivan Bakanov, reiterated that Zelensky's stance strongly supports Ukraine's accession to both the EU and NATO, advocating for referendums to decide on membership. Zelensky's electoral program asserted that Ukrainian NATO membership embodies the will of the Maidan and is fundamental for enhancing the nation's defense capabilities as enshrined in the constitution. In addition, he emphasized that NATO membership serves as a vital tool for bolstering Ukraine's defense capabilities, marking a strategic choice following the events of the Maidan and aligning with constitutional principles. This marks a significant step towards solidifying Ukraine's foreign policy direction and aligning with European and transatlantic structures to enhance national security. The program states that Ukraine should set the goal to apply for a NATO membership action plan in 2024. The program also states that Zelensky will do everything to ensure that Ukraine can apply for European Union membership in 2024. 2 days before the second round, Zelensky stated that he wanted to build a strong, powerful, free Ukraine, which is not the younger sister of Russia, which is not a corrupt partner of Europe, but our independent Ukraine. In October 2020, he spoke in support of Azerbaijan in regard to the Nagorno-Karabakh war between Azerbaijan and ethnic Armenians over the disputed region of Nagorno-Karabakh. Zelensky said, "We support Azerbaijan's territorial integrity and sovereignty, just as Azerbaijan always supports our territorial integrity and sovereignty." This commitment underscores a significant moment in the diplomatic relations between Ukraine and Azerbaijan, paving the way for mutual support on international stages. Zelensky's diplomatic approach aims to position Ukraine as a neutral player amidst the United States and China's political and trade tensions. In January 2021, Zelensky told Axios that he does not view China as a significant geopolitical threat. Furthermore, Zelensky disagreed with the US assertion that China poses a threat on the global stage, emphasizing Ukraine's neutral stance. In February 2022, Zelenskyy made a formal application for Ukraine to join the European Union, further solidifying his country's ties with the Western world. Expressing his stance on the 2023 Israel-Hamas conflict, Zelenskyy condemned Hamas's actions and voiced support for Israel's right to self-defense. Zelenskyy's strong condemnation of Hamas showcased his firm support for Israel during the conflict, aligning Ukraine with Israel's right to self-defense. Zelenskyy's vocal support for Israel amid the conflict with Hamas underscored his commitment to upholding principles of self-defense and condemning violent actions. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy of Ukraine has been an advocate for closer ties with the European Union and NATO, aiming to strengthen Ukraine's position on the global stage. Throughout his presidency, Zelenskyy has emphasized Ukraine's independence and sovereignty while navigating complex international dynamics, such as maintaining a neutral stance between the United States and China. His efforts to align Ukraine with Western institutions like the EU demonstrate his commitment to further integrating Ukraine into the broader European community. Additionally, Zelenskyy's condemnation of actions during conflicts like the Israel-Hamas war underscores his support for peace and stability in the region. Overall, Zelenskyy's leadership reflects a vision for a stronger, more independent Ukraine that plays a significant role in global affairs. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy's proactive approach to international relations and commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty highlight his dedication to shaping a prosperous future for his country.